Because if you're believing, if you're logging onto LinkedIn and you're believing, nobody's noticing me, I'm in the background, I can't get noticed, my posts get about 2 likes. And if you're believing those things, that's what you're seeing. And that's all we're thinking. And the fact is, when you get to shift those beliefs, transform those beliefs, and actually start to believe something different, that's when people start to see you in a different way. So I now walk around this world, and I do this with my acting career to get to notice as an actor, and I do it in the business world. I walk around the world with a very innate belief that everybody I meet falls in love with me, right? It sounds crazy to say, but every post that I'm posting, I believe that people will love it. And obviously, not everybody is going to love me. I'm very rooted in that reality. I know that that is a fact. However, in my world and what I believe, I'm choosing to believe that people that do read my posts love it. And what I'm finding is that more and more people are loving it, and more people, my people, are attracted to that.
Before we dive into today's episode, please hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us grow and inspire more people on their journeys. Thank you. Hello, Jess. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jess, to start with, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Jess. I run a company called Scorpio, and I'm basically helping entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs upgrade their brands, specifically their personal brands. I'm also an actor full-time and a screenwriter. So there's kind of a lot of strings to my bow, I guess, and I'm a very creative person. But most recently, I founded Scorpio this year to really, a lot of the stuff that I've learned as an actor, I'm now transferring over to the business world, and I'm finding it so fascinating watching this blend of the entertainment industry and the business world come together, especially with the rise of personal brands. So that's really what Scorpio is about. It's helping entrepreneurs show up in a way that the world is going to see them, and they're actually going to make money from it, and they're going to use it as a great marketing tool. So yeah, so I guess I've got that little bit of experience as an actor to really take into the business world, which I'm finding really fascinating.
And as we just discussed it before the recording, I found it super exciting that you are extras. So can you tell us actually how did you get into acting? Are you someone who's always been interested in this?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been very interested in expressing and telling stories, but I actually didn't start acting until I was about 17, 18 years old. So it's a bit later in life than some people do. I got into drama school. I went to drama school for 3 years in London. And then before I even graduated drama school, I ended up getting an agent and getting my first West End job. So I started in stage. So things kind of snowballed for me very quickly at that age. And I was still very young. I was about 20 at the time. And I had a great career in stage, as I say, on the West End and touring the UK, touring the world. And that kind of was my first little taste of fame, I guess. And then I've continued on, and I've transferred over into TV and film and in the screen world. And a lot of that was to do with just my preference, where I wanted to go, where I wanted to take myself as an actor, but also, the lockdown and COVID and all of that time, I think a lot of people had to rethink what they were doing. The entertainment industry took a big hit. So, there was a lot of me trying to figure out where I was going to go next. And I actually produced a few independent films as well. So I've had my hand in many pies when it comes to acting, but now I'm at a stage where yeah, I'm auditioning for TV and film stuff. I've just come off shooting a short film based in Manchester, which was great, and I've got a lot of content coming out around that. But yeah, I've been doing it for the majority of my life, really, the best part of a decade. So it's something that's very close to my heart. But as any actors maybe listening to this will know, it's not the simplest of journeys. It's, unless you're A-list celebrity, it's not as glamorous as it sounds. So I've had to, work hard, work very, very hard at my craft. But also a lot of it is to do with how I've grown my own personal brand and sold myself in that way, which again ties into everything that I'm doing today with Scorpio.
And it's a very competitive field, isn't it? Because just as I mentioned before, I studied film before, but behind the camera, not in front of camera. And we've always known like that it's very tough to get in because it's competitive. So many people trying to get in. And I cannot imagine what is it like for the actors.
It's so competitive, and, it's even more so. The industry is very different to how it was 10 years ago, and a lot of it is really you've gotta shift with the times, and in the same way that in the business world, we've got to shift with growing a personal brand and showing up more as a business owner or a founder or a part of the team. It's the same for the entertainment industry. You're not gonna be seen, you're not gonna be noticed, you're not gonna be recognized if you're not showing up on social media nowadays. So, I actually build a brand as an actor over on TikTok. I've got a following of over 16,000 people on there, and that's very tailored to my acting. I show up, do monologues, I post acting content, and it's really the same thing. It's everybody's on social media nowadays, and that's how the entertainment industry is as well. If you're an actor, it's not as simple as it was where you just got an agent and then you got in the room for an audition. Now it's like you gotta work even harder than it was 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a career not for the faint-hearted.
And especially before when there was no social media or less of social media, because now it's completely different.
100%. And when I was touring the world with these big shows, that would have been the ideal time for me to be creating content, doing day in my life videos, all of these things, but it wasn't really a thing back then. So, there's also I see these generations coming through that have grown up with social media, and it's amazing because 'cause they're like, "I'm on it, I'm building my personal brand from the get-go." But the millennials of amongst us and the people that are like, slightly older, we've not necessarily grown up with that level of attention to social media, so it was
It's
a
different, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And did you then like realize or discover that's important to build your brand at the same time, or did like someone tell you, or how did you figure it out?
Interestingly, I started building my brand because about 6 years ago, built my first business, which was again, it was a coaching-based business, but it was more tailored towards helping artists and influencers with their mindsets and showing up in that sense. So even at the time when I was building that 6 years ago, I didn't quite understand that I was helping people build personal brands. It only has become such a buzzword today. So I've actually been doing this for a very long time, but I was just kind of packaging it in a different way. And so I started building my brand as an entrepreneur in that sense to sell my services back then. And really ironically, I've only just started building a brand as an actor, like I say over on TikTok. I've only just started doing that this year, which is so
Yeah,
ironic.
it was like the post today, right?
Yeah. So it's very ironic, but I think as well timing is everything, and I think, with a lot of what I teach my clients, you really have to decide that you want to be known first of all, and you've got to decide what you want to be known for. And I think back then I was very much in this space of, well, I need to get clients, I got to make my money. So I was building a brand up to serve that. But, this year for me, I've really stepped fully back into my creativity and who I am as an actor. So I'm enjoying building a brand around that too. And I think it's just a good note for everybody. Whatever you do in life, you can build a brand around it. So yeah, so it's quite ironic really that I've only just started that. But brand building I've been doing for years, and I think now that it's become such a big thing, and there's a big rise of these personal brands, it's just very interesting for me to watch people jumping on this now, considering I've been doing it for so long. So, yeah, it's great. I think it's such a good thing.
I think that it explains because I saw that it's been 9 months since probably you started posting on LinkedIn or taking it more seriously. But then it makes sense that you had all this experience of working before, so then it was kind of easier to start. Because, for example, us, we started not really knowing what to do or how to do, and it feels like I don't want to say waste of time, but if you knew what to do, you would do it just differently.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people, and I've had a lot of these podcast interviews where people have asked me, "How did you do it? How did you grow that quickly?" And one of the things that that I've said is that honestly, I joined LinkedIn. The reason I joined LinkedIn, this was last year. The reason I joined was because I wanted to get a job at the time. And now I've had, like I say, my acting career is up and down. You got to work hard. I've had businesses that I've run, but I kind of hit a point where I was like, I want to work within an agency. I want to learn some more. So I was like, right, I'm going to get a job. Where do you go to get a job? LinkedIn. This is what I've always been taught. So I was like, okay, great. I'll join LinkedIn. I will, see what happens over there. And I think for me, because I hadn't been brought up on LinkedIn as a corporate person, as a creative, I always thought it was a space that I didn't belong in. And, when I joined, I was like, oh, actually, there's creators on here, there's influencers on here. This is new to me. I didn't realize this. So for me, I just then started posting on LinkedIn like I would any other platform, like I have, over the 6, 7 years of my life. And I was a little bit naive. I didn't overthink it. I just thought it's the same as anything else. So the reason that I didn't overthink it and I just showed up very authentically and and a little bit naive to what it actually was, I think that's why I stood out, because I think a lot of people are getting a lot of advice on LinkedIn about how to grow your brand. But because of that, a lot of people are doing the same thing, and nobody's really disrupting the space. Nobody's really being authentic because they're constantly in their heads thinking, well, I've got to do it this way to be noticed. And actually, the only way you're going to be noticed is if you step out of the crowd. So I think I did that without realizing it. And that's how I grew so fast on LinkedIn. Yeah.
But I like it. I think it's a great advice because although when compared to other platforms, I think it's still like untapped potential in LinkedIn because not that many people either use it or don't post regularly. But still, as you've been there for some time, you see that there are a lot of people. So it might be harder to stand out. But when there is someone who, embraces their uniqueness or just is rememberable for something, just, makes you remember them. Because, for example, we haven't known each other. I don't really know probably how I discovered you, but I like, your positivity, your vibe, and the way that you show up. And it just confirms what you just said.
Do you know, as well, that's so good to hear, because the other thing that I'm teaching, and it's not really widely spoken about on LinkedIn, but I'm teaching the energy behind this work too. And I think that there's so many people that are like, okay, how do I write the perfect post? How do I engage with people? How do I do all of these, again, very strategy based things? And they forget that actually there's a foundation that you get to lay in yourself as a person, with your beliefs, how you think about your brand, how you think about the world, how you think about yourself, and also with your energy and how you're choosing to show up in this life. It's not just about writing the perfect post, it's about doing it in an energy that people are attracted to. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of the basis of my work, which is, as I say, it's not widely spoken about on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a very professional platform with people that haven't necessarily thought of these things, very high achieving people, entrepreneurs, founders, who, when they want something, and I get it because I'm a high achieving woman myself, but when high achieving people want something, the first thing they think is, okay, what do I do? What do I have to do? What's the action I have to take? When actually, the first thing that you get to be thinking is, how can I work on myself? And how can I feel better? How can I think better? How can I move about this world better? Because when you lay that foundation, the action that you take becomes easy. Writing those posts aren't hard anymore. They're not, you don't have to overthink it. You're not in your head as much because your energy is leading the way. And yeah, and I think I've found a way of talking about this now on LinkedIn that people are resonating with, which is wonderful, because
Yeah,
it is quite new to some people.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
And I always try to say that it's also important to have fun.
Mm.
So, as you know, or I'm sure you've experienced it too, it might not be easy to show up every day and be excited. But still, if there is something that you enjoy, that you are excited about, whether it's writing a funny, authentic post or engaging with someone, it just makes it much easier, doesn't it?
Massively. And again, that's laying that foundation of your energy first. I've got a 4-step process that I've taught, and that I did a free masterclass on this. So for anybody listening, you can go and grab this. It's a 60-minute masterclass with me going through this 4-step process. But the reason I have this 4-step process and I do it in this order is exactly for that reason, because you can't show up having fun with a platform if you haven't done that groundwork on who you are as a person and what you believe. Because if you're logging onto LinkedIn and you're believing, nobody's noticing me, I'm in the background, I can't get noticed, my posts get about 2 likes. If you're believing those things, that's what you're seeing. And as human beings, we believe what we see, obviously. Like if we are showing up and the posts are only getting about 2 likes and nobody's engaging, and that's all we're thinking. We're just thinking, nobody is noticing me, nobody is noticing me. And the fact is, when you get to shift those beliefs, transform those beliefs, and actually start to believe something different, that's when people start to see you in a different way. So I now walk around this world, and I do this with my acting career to get noticed as an actor, and I do it in the business world. I walk around the world with a very innate belief that everybody I meet falls in love with me. And it
I
sounds
like the idea.
right, it sounds crazy to say, but every post that I'm posting, I believe that people will love it. And obviously, not everybody is going to love me. Like, I'm very rooted in that reality. I know that that is a fact. However, in my world and what I believe, I'm choosing to believe that people that do read my posts love it. And what I'm finding is that more and more people are loving it, and more people, my people, are attracted to that. And that's how we get to move about the world. And I think, we can be so tied up in this imposter syndrome and,
Yeah.
again, looking at what's going on in our current reality and thinking I'm failing, when actually we get to create a whole new reality in our head.
It
And
comes down to mindset, doesn't it?
yeah, 100%.
I like what you said. It's definitely something that I will think about after as well. And what actually made you to realize this? Was like, I don't know, discover, or did someone teach you?
I love that you asked that question, because it's not, you know, this didn't happen overnight for me. This way of thinking, this way of being. Around 6 or 7 years ago, when I built my first coaching business, I went through some really tough, difficult times, some really traumatic periods in my life that I had to work through, and I had to be willing to work through. So this came from, I wasn't just thinking of business and making money in the beginning. I was genuinely thinking of healing myself and being able to love myself. And it's not the first thing entrepreneurs think of, but because I did all of that work years ago, and a lot of it had to do with trauma I faced around my own entertainment industry and stuff like that. Because I did all of that work years ago, I now get to use that foundation in everything that I do in life. So it's not only growing my business and making me money, but it's also fixing my relationships. And it's, yeah, like I said, making me financially abundant. So it's deeper work than people want to go to, because as I said, as high achieving people, you just want to jump straight to what's the strategy? Actually, if you took the time to work on yourself, you'd find that the strategy becomes easy. So that's the basis of, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I like it. And of course, it applies to LinkedIn or other areas, but I can imagine it must be very important when it comes to acting, not only as very competitive field, but even putting yourself out there. I cannot imagine what it's like, whether it's on stage or in front of camera.
It's massively vulnerable. And again, this is where I'm finding it fascinating to see this blend of personal branding on the rise, because it's massively vulnerable to build a personal brand and to show up every day with the awareness that nobody might read your post, nobody might care in the beginning, but being able to still put yourself out there and grow with that confidence in yourself that you deserve to be seen and that people are seeing you. Being able to do that in the beginning is tough, because it's very vulnerable, and there will be people that look at you in the first place and go, oh, that's a bit cringy, or why'd they say that, or all those fears that people have. But you won't get anywhere unless you start. And it's not about proving it to anybody else. It's about just staying consistent with yourself and what you believe. So for me, I've been through it all with my acting career, which is why showing up in the business world, it's not even about having a thick skin. I just believe something different. I don't see comparison. I don't see these things. I just show up as me because I did all that work, and we all get to do it.
And do you still have any doubts sometimes, or do you feel like you've mastered it?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
We're all human, and I think it would be ridiculous to say I had no doubts. But I think what I've got good at doing is what I call getting out ahead of it. It's like, if you are finding that you're in a pattern of doubting yourself, you've got to find a way of working on that before it even happens. So again, like I said, working on your energy, working on your mindset, working on those things before the doubt even comes in, so that the next time you log on to LinkedIn and the post that you've just done doesn't blow up again, you're not going to feel that pang of doubt because you've already done the work previous to that. And in one of my steps, the final step is literally trust it, because you've got to trust that it might take time for you to become visible and to grow your brand. But rather than looking at that time and sort of doubting yourself or complaining about it, you get to look at that time as preparation time. You get to look at that as prep that you get to do on your mindset, so that when you do blow up, when that post finally does go viral or it does pick up, you're ready for it. You're ready for that level of visibility and that level of fame. And that, I think, is wonderful. I think that we, as I say, get to fall in love with the time that it takes to be noticed.
I'm pretty sure that you will relate even more than in my example. But I get loads of DMs about, I don't know, how to grow, how to get more engagement and stuff like that. And because you're a bigger creator, I'm pretty sure you get it even more. So when someone reaches out next time, I'll tell them to go to listen to this.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. But it's true. And I think, like, again, for anybody listening who are more in that strategy-based place, there is a lot of strategy to this as well. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I sit in my room and I believe these great beliefs and then I'm just expect it to happen, because that's not how the world works. I show up every single day and I'm very consistent, and I do have a strategy around LinkedIn like everybody does. But what I place more of my time and energy on is the mindset piece, because as I said before, then the strategy becomes easier. But yeah, in terms of, I mean, I don't know whether you want me to cover any of the actual strategy or...
Yeah, of course. Because the majority or a lot of audience is on LinkedIn, so I'm pretty sure it will be a shame not to ask you. Are you struggling to stay consistent on LinkedIn? FanPost helps you create high-quality posts in minutes, so you can write faster, show up more, and stress way less. Built by creators for creators is the easiest way to grow your presence without burning out. Try it free at fanpost.com.
Well, what I can do is I can cover this 4-step process, and then if anybody wants to go and dive deeper into it for themselves, they can, as I say, head over to my profile and get the free masterclass.
Yep, I will add it to the show notes as well for anyone.
Yeah, anybody that's interested. But so the first step in my process to becoming visible and growing this personal brand fame is you've got to decide it. You've got to decide that you actually want to be known. You've got to decide what you want to be known for. You've got to decide who you want to be known by. And so a lot of this first step is the clarity piece, which again, people skip over because they just jump straight onto LinkedIn and they go, okay, well, I've got to just post these posts, right?
Just for the sake of posting.
Exactly. But without actually being clear on how you want to be known and whether you do even want to be known, because a lot of us live with these blocks already around being famous. A lot of us are actually scared of it subconsciously. So if you don't understand that part of yourself first, you will never grow. So that's the first step, is deciding it. The second step is normalizing it. And I did a post on this morning, and I had a lot of people messaging me about this, because again, it's something that's not widely spoken about. Being able to normalize your level of visibility and fame. So there's some things in your life that are normal to you. Let's say it's normal to wake up and make your morning brew and brush your teeth in the morning. That's a normal thing. That's in your routine. It happens every day. But it's not necessarily normal to go viral every day. You don't wake up thinking, I'm going to go viral every single day, do we? Right? But what we get to do is we get to actually make it normal to do that. We get to make that a part of a norm in our life, just as it is to get up and brush our teeth every morning. It can be normal for you to go viral. It can be normal for you to have a bunch of client inquiries, and it can be normal for you to make a lot of money. But the way that we normalize it is by, one, our mindset, our beliefs, and we go to a subconscious level. We actually get to the root of what we're believing. And then two, our energy, how we're showing up. So that's the normalizing step. The third step is action it, which, as I said, you can't get anywhere if you're not posting. You can't get anywhere if you're not showing up on LinkedIn or whatever platform it is for you. So that's the action piece. And there is a lot around that I do with my clients in a very tailored way, where it's very tailored to who you are and what you're trying to achieve within your brand. And so whether it's through a podcast or whether it's through showing up on LinkedIn every day with these posts or in-person events or more of the traditional PR, how it is for you that you're going to action it, well, you got to take that action. And as I said, if you've normalized it and you've got clear on what it is that you want from your brand, that's going to become easy, right? So then the fourth step is trust it. Trust that your brand and your visibility is going to grow. And as I said, we covered this before, you've got to fall in love with the time it takes to be noticed, because it might take time. It might not happen for you overnight, but actually, I think that that's even better, because if you do go viral tomorrow and you're not prepared and you don't have your beliefs down and you don't know how you're showing up in the world, it could really backfire. In fact, it could damage your brand massively if you go viral and you don't know what you want. So I actually think that time is so important. That preparation time is so important. And that's what we get to work.
Actually, I was about to ask you if you want to cover these 4 steps, but I wasn't sure if you would be willing to reveal it. But I'm so glad you did. It made me think as well. And if I followed something like that when I was starting out, oh my God, it would make everything easier.
Yeah. And so that's, like I said, go into more depth in that masterclass. But those 4 steps is the method, the real premise to how I'm working with my coaching and my mentoring clients. We work through it together, step by step in that order, so that when you do get to the action part of this process, you are just flying and you will go viral. A lot of my clients have gone viral.
Yeah, that's probably the answer for those DMs that I get. Go to Jess's masterclass to go viral.
I love it.
No, I like it. It sounds great. I'm just trying to think of myself when I was starting out. Yeah, because I got like, for example, of course, I'm not going to lie. I didn't really have a plan when I started showing up. For me, it was pretty much learning by falling and learning along the way. But I also got like a lot of messages. Oh, you suddenly got viral or a lot of engagement. I was like, but you don't see that I've been showing up regularly for I don't know how long. There's a lot of work behind, and people just see the immediate results.
100%. And that's the thing. There is no such thing as overnight success. I've been working on this, as I say, for a decade as an actor, and all the stuff that I've learned, all the experience that I've had, it's taken me 10 years to be able to master building a personal brand, which is now why I teach it and why I founded Scorpio this year, which actually is another good point to bring up around be careful about who you're learning from, because you want to learn from people that have actually done this. Like, there's a lot of people that are showing up trying to teach how to grow a personal brand because it's become such a buzzword. It's become such a big thing, like anything, right? Like any industry that's starting to boom. But just be careful about who you're investing in, because you've got to look at the people that have done it, that have got to where you want to be, that have got the results, direct results. And because they're the people that have had that 10 years or so of experience behind the scenes that is going to be very beneficial for you. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah. And as we are discussing all of this, whether it's your personal presence, acting, and business, how do you actually manage to do all of that? Because it sounds so much. You must have great time management.
It's a very good question. Good. I'm not going to say it's easy because it's not. But listen, this is again part of what you believe around it, because you can either look at everything going on in my life and think that's overwhelming and oh my God, I wouldn't want to do that. But I'm just kind of in love with the creative side of my life, and I wouldn't have it anyway, really, and any other way, really. But yeah, it's constant battle of, I think, where I channel my energy, because as I say, I'm growing a brand on TikTok as an actor, and I'll be completely honest, like that's my goal in life. And that's the thing that I'm in love with the most. So being able to wake up one day and go, okay, I'm an actor, and identifying as actor one day, but then being able to wake up the next day when I've got client calls or when I've got, calls with prospects and be like, okay, no, I'm coach, I'm mentor, I'm podcast host today, whatever it is. I think for me, I find it easier if I wake up in that identity. And that then leads my day with what I have to do and my priorities. But I think it's important as well to note that for any creative, multifaceted person that might be listening, you know, you should be so proud of yourself for doing what you're doing, because there are people that only have one thing that they channel all of their energy into, which is again why those people might grow faster than you. But if you're a creative, multifaceted person, whatever you channel your energy in, it is going to grow. But if you're channeling into lots of different things, you've got to be okay and comfortable with that. It might not grow to multi 8-figure business overnight if you're also doing something else, or you've got a family, or you're doing all these things. And again, it's not comparing yourself, because we're all on completely different journeys. And I am not trying to be the face of personal branding. I'm not trying to be next best agency for branding or anything. I'm just helping the people that are my people that I know I can help. And frankly, I am going after the dream of being an actor. So, it's one of them.
It's a great point what you said, because I think even on LinkedIn that sometimes you fall into comparing yourself to others, but again, you don't know the whole story. You don't know their background. You don't know if they are working on something else. So I also might sometimes compare myself, but then I need to remind myself, okay, you don't know the person's background, the person's story. They don't know yours, so
Massive.
compare yourself.
And as well, it's about showing up and talking about that. That's why when I'm on LinkedIn, I openly talk about being an actor. I will share day in the life footage of being an actor, because I'm not afraid to show my full self to the world on any platform. And I think it's important, because then it does show people, okay, wow, this person is doing a lot with their life. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing a lot. And it's interesting. It's an interesting thing for people to witness and to see. So being able to show up and talk about all those other qualities to your life, that's part of building a personal brand.
And I think it might be maybe just me, but to be honest, I feel like I haven't really see anyone else like being an actor and showing up on LinkedIn. So of course there must be other people, but from your experience, what is it like? Are there many like actors who are also building brand on LinkedIn, or are they focusing on other platforms?
I think there are actually a lot more actors on LinkedIn than you realize. But as I said, they sort of don't talk about it. And I think that, or there's people that are maybe ex-actors that used to be in the entertainment industry that are now, have their own businesses. But there are probably more actors on there that you think. But again, because we feel sometimes that we have to water our language down in certain places. When I joined LinkedIn, like I said, it was a platform I didn't think I belonged in initially, because I thought, oh, this is just a corporate place where you get a job and that's what it's there for. But then I logged on and I realized there was so many creatives on here. I realized that actually it's a space that there is so much potential for creative people. And funnily enough, this is an offer I'm about to bring out for artists and actors and creative people to actually utilize LinkedIn more, because for me, obviously, it's done wonders for my career and not only building a business and working on Scorpio, but also for my acting career. I've connected with big agents, I've connected with big producers, I've connected with the people at the top that most actors don't think about connecting with, because they just think, oh, I just have to go to my acting classes and that's how no.
Yeah.
Go and connect with a producer that has a ton of money and help them so that they can then put you in a film of theirs. There is so much potential on LinkedIn, and not just for corporate people.
Yes.
So many creatives.
I totally agree. And I think also what's important, or kind of a benefit, that if you connect with someone, you don't really have to, or usually don't have to prove much to them, because they can just look at your profile. And if they scroll your posts, they see that, you've been consistent, you put out quality content, and see what kind of person you are. So really, I would say don't underestimate, like, if it takes time building your brand, because, there is a proof behind it, I would say. Because I don't know you, I look at your post, I look at your profile, and I already got a picture.
100%. And a lot of it as well, because the other question I do get asked is, okay, well, Jess, you've had nearly a decade being an actor, you know how to show up behind a camera, and I do. And I know how to command an audience in that sense because I've also hosted my own podcast, which grew to a top ranking podcast in the UK. So I've had these multiple channels of the media that I'm very well versed in. And I think a lot of people, when they initially work with me, they're like, well, you know this because you're an actor. So I can't do it. I'm not an actor. And I think, again, that's part of my service, really, because you can choose whether you want to be the face of your brand or not. And you don't have to be. And I think this is really important. You don't have to be, which is also why I offer LinkedIn ghostwriting. And I do offer podcast hosting where I will be the host of your podcast. If you don't want to host your podcast, I will do that for brands. But you can, there is a possibility that you can be the face of your business if you want to be. And again, it's by training that yourself and how you show up and your beliefs and your energy and how you appear to the world. There's so many people on TikTok doing it, showing up short form video content every single day. It's possible. It's possible for you if you're interested in it. If not, like I said, you don't have to be the face of it. It's not like it's a non-negotiable. There are ways and means of working around it. There is just so many opportunities at our fingertips today.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also important to keep in mind that it's usually uncomfortable at first, whether it's like recording your first video, first podcast, whatever on LinkedIn. But it's natural. It pretty much happens to everyone. But you do the first one, second one, and then after 10, it becomes pretty much natural and just easier and easier.
Exactly. Anything that and with this normalizing step of normalizing your visibility and normalizing your fame, that's part of it. The fastest way to sort of normalize it is to just do it and put yourself out there and figure it. I like to say, just do the thing and figure it out afterwards. Just show up and then go, okay, here's what I've learned. And be strategic about how with the data that you have after doing it. But yeah, unless you do it, you won't learn.
Exactly. And you don't know, maybe you fall in love with it and you enjoy doing that since then.
Exactly. This is the thing that I'm finding most fascinating about this blend of the entertainment industry and the business world, because you've got these business owners and these founders showing up that you would never expect, and they love it and they're so good at it. And then they're speaking on massive stages and they're doing these things. And I just think that's wonderful. I think that if you find that passion for showing up in the world, amazing. Because the main reason why I teach what I teach, why I help people get visible, become famous, grow their personal brands, is because if you have a message to share with this world that is not only going to help you and your own life, but also help the collective, you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be seen. So I'm most passionate about helping people who have those messages amplify them and share them with the world. And I think there's so many more people out there that deserve that don't have a platform, that actually nowadays are getting to have that platform. And I just think that's wonderful.
I love the mission and I agree. And I think I've got a great opportunity since I'm speaking with you now, because since it's quite scary to put yourself out there, or at least uncomfortable at first. I know you mentioned that you started with acting a bit later, like in your early 20s or late teens. So what was it like actually for you? Did you also find it uncomfortable to, step on the stage or in front of camera? Or as you said, was it natural? Or if you had any fears, what helped you to overcome it?
Yeah, I think for me as a person, I think I've always found when you're acting, you're a character, right? So you're not really showing up authentically because you're showing up as somebody else. So actually, as an actor, I would arguably say it's slightly easier because you're given a script, you're told what to say, and then you embody the person. I studied psychology as well, quite intensely, so I'm very well versed with that, which is why as well it helps with marketing. But you're showing up as a character, so I always found that slightly easier. It was when I started to grow my personal brand where I had to show up as myself that I actually found harder, because I was like, whoa, okay, no, the world, I'm not just behind a screen being someone else, I'm being me. And there's the real possibility that people might not like me, that people might think I'm cringy, that people might think all these things. And that was terrifying at the time. But like I said, the only thing that really helped me with that was going deep into this inner world and actually working on myself and being willing to go there and heal myself, because I genuinely, it's what any kind of, if you look at child actors and how if they've been brought up in and with that level of fame, and then a lot of the time you see this pattern of them crumbling and not being able to handle it. This is the point. If you jump into this and you think, okay, I'm going to build my brand, and you've gone viral and you've done all those things without doing that healing work first, you're going to find it terrifying when you get massives of people watching you and eyes on you. You're going to find that terrifying, and you're not going to be able to handle it. And so that's why my life and my journey today is starting out as that actor, then healing myself, and then being able to show up as myself has been so important for where I am today. Because without that inner work, without that healing, I would find it very hard to handle the eyes on me now.
Yeah, you raised a great point because I read, and I'm sure that many people did, about child actors that when they grew up, that it kind of went into their heads and then didn't evolve as positively as you would expect. So I don't want to say surprised, but I'm very pleased that you, like with your success and that you've been acting since you've been young, that you are still so humble, positive, and nice, despite, like the successes that you had early on, which is just really nice to see.
Oh, I mean, and that's lovely to hear. And I do think as well, it is when we think about growing invisibility, we also have to think about, as I said, how you want to be known. And you can have lots of eyes on you. Like I say, you could go viral tomorrow. Anybody could. But again, it's about the feeling you're bringing to the room, because
Mhm.
you don't want to be remembered for the wrong things. You want to be remembered for the right things. And that's why being clear on that is so important. And it's when child actors grown up and they've not really been able to find that clarity on that, it's like any kind of bad PR.
Yeah.
If you're young and you're showing up and you're just like, oh, I don't care. But then like 5 years later, you're like, why did I say that?
Exactly.
So I think that's just maturing and that's just growing up, and
Mhm.
everybody has to go through that. But I do think as well though, when you're growing a personal brand and being strategic around growing a personal brand, you get to think about these things first, because how you're being remembered and the legacy you're building is very, very important. So, which is why a lot of the time people will say there's no point going viral sometimes, or you don't want to go viral for the wrong thing, because then you're known for the wrong thing, and then you have an audience of people that know you for the wrong thing. So being really, really clear with your positioning in this world is very important. And I guess on that note, you've said some lovely, kind things to me about how I make people feel with my posts and how I'm very humble. That's the way that that's authentic to me. And that's the way that I want to be known in this world. I don't want to be known as an egotistical actor, because that's just not me. So being able to embrace that as well, but also being savvy and clever, and this is on a PR sense of how you're being perceived, is very, very important. And
Yeah.
I guess that's my media training and a lot of the stuff that I've learned as an actor, I guess.
I think you said it perfectly, and I really like it. I think it would be a shame not to ask if you could share some, highlights from your acting career. Because as I look at IMDb, I saw that you've been to one quite big TV series.
Yeah, so I actually worked alongside James Corden in Mammals, which appeared on Amazon Prime. And that was an amazing experience because, again, so a lot of the work that I'm teaching now, I was doing on myself for years. And I always say that if you're also in rooms with famous people or very well known people, that's just sort of proving to you that you're in this frequency of
Mhm.
fame, and that's what happened to me. So it was an amazing experience, and we worked closely together because I wasn't a huge character, but I was in a scene with him, just me and him. And so I got to get to know him on set, and it was a great experience. So that was the drama that I did there. And like I said, I started off in stage, so I had my breakout role as Sandy in Grease the musical, which was when I was very young, like I said. And again, that was the taste of fame for me, because there was a lot of eyes on me at the time and there was a lot of press around me. But it was amazing. I think it was amazing, an amazing experience. But again, at the time, I hadn't done this preparation work. So for me, I actually did struggle a lot with that fame. I did struggle. But again, you can't look back on things and regret anything. I learned a lot from that experience. And the next venture, I guess, for me, which whether or not this happens right now, because America is quite unstable at the moment, but the next venture is actually moving to LA. So that's the next thing that I'm doing as an actor. Yeah.
And do you know when? Like if you've got the time stamp?
Well, I was actually sorting my visa out to go this year.
Yeah.
I am.
Fingers crossed.
I'm going to be going this summer, and I'm going to see what happens, and we'll just see what happens in the world, because who knows at this point.
Yeah. And have you got preference? Like if you want to act in TV series or movies or on stage?
I'm very much steered towards TV and film right now. I actually, as a screenwriter, have written a sitcom as well, a British sitcom, which myself and my writing partner are looking to get produced. So I think for me, if anything, it would be wonderful to have that comedy produced, be able to star in it, and
You see it on Netflix.
and see it on Netflix. And you heard it here first. So yeah, watch out for me, guys. But no, it like, I have a lot of belief around this. I think it's entirely possible. And I think any other creative, any other business owner, they should believe in themselves too, because there's a world of possibilities.
Exactly. And some film related questions. Who's, for example, your favorite director or someone that you would like to work with?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of people that I want to work with, a lot of actors that I'd like to work with as well.
You can name both actors.
Yeah. You know what? It's like, I've actually never been asked this before. I think it's a difficult one because it does change quite a bit with the industry. I think in the UK, Stephen Graham, I would love to work with, just because I think that he's very real. He's very, very authentic and does some really cool stuff. And I'd say an actor that I look up to quite a bit would be Jodie Comer. And she has, she's not necessarily been in the media a lot recently, but she's done some amazing stuff. And she never trained, she never went to drama school, but she basically went from doing bit parts on BBC dramas to then breaking out into Hollywood. And I just love that, because I love, obviously, there's years of experience between that, and you don't see the steps, you don't see how hard she's worked. But again, it's entirely possible to go from little big dramas to then boom, you're out there, you're in Hollywood. And that's why I look up to her. So that's how I want my career to go, ideally.
Yeah, it's a great inspiration. And what will be your favorite film and TV series? I'm pretty sure it's a tough one again, but
Oh gosh,
you can name.
questions. These are too much to answer.
But I especially have to ask someone like you.
But you're in the film industry as well, so it's interesting. I have to admit, I mean, current wise, adolescents are incredible. And like I said, Stephen Graham is incredible with what he does. But that, I think, has been very important, because it also has proved that our industry and the entertainment industry is such an important platform, not just for entertaining people, but for educating people. And I love that. I love seeing that. And I love seeing how people have really caught on to that. And, that TV series now is going to be shown in schools.
Yeah, I read as well. I was very positively surprised.
Yeah. So that's the one on everybody's lips right now.
And can you name a film?
Gosh, this is such a difficult question. So many.
It can be like something that for some reason you just enjoy.
There are so many, though. I actually can't answer the question. I don't. I'm trying to think even current ones.
Oh, don't worry, that's okay.
God, too many. There's too many.
But then I always ask, when it comes to any book recommendations, if there were any impactful to you or any book that you would recommend to people.
Oh, this is a great question. But my books are probably a little out there for maybe the people that might listen to your podcast. I'll say them anyway. So, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. This is a conversation that Napoleon Hill had with the devil. Take it as what you want, in the book. But it is fascinating, because it basically dives into why, as humans, we have fear, where fear comes from. And it dives into a lot of things to do with the education system and religion and all sorts of things in society. And it's fascinating because he wrote this book, I don't even know, years ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things are still applicable today. And what it's teaching you is how to essentially rid this fear, and how really any fear that you have in life, whether it is that imposter syndrome, that scared of being embarrassed, that scared of being cringy when you show up, any fear that you have, that is the devil, essentially. But it's fascinating because when you read it, it makes you think how we've really been conditioned to fear so many things in this life. And actually, when we can rid that fear, that's when we allow ourselves to be free. And that's when we do call in the things that we want into our lives.
It sounds great, and I'm not going to lie. I think I've never read it, but I know Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite ones.
Yes.
Similarly, it's been written a long time ago, but still I feel like that those principles or the rules he talks about, it's still so, you can still use it these days. So
Still so
it's a great one. I will make sure to read.
Yeah, it's honestly, if there's anything you can read, let it be that, because it changed my life.
Yep, that's a good one. And just to be aware of time before we finish, can you summarize where people can find you, follow you, and promote any of your services?
Yeah, of course. So obviously go find me on LinkedIn. My name's Jessica Paul, full name, and come and connect with me over there. Drop me a DM. I am building a community up over there. So I do like to, chat to everybody that's connecting with me. You can also find the Scorpio. You can also find us on Instagram at the Scorpio branding. And if you are interested, you can find me on TikTok. Again, just search my name and you can find me on TikTok. But that's, again, if you're a bit nosy and you want to see more of my acting background. And then in terms of services, what I am offering at the moment is, number one, my coaching and mentoring. So a lot of what we've spoken about today is working through that and on your brand specifically. Whether you're just wanting the mindset coaching element or whether you're wanting the brand and mindset coaching element. I'm also offering a few new services now, LinkedIn ghostwriting. So I am offering to take over your personal brand for you. I'm very specific with who I work with on that. So again, you can book in a free call with me to discuss that. And I'm offering podcast hosting services for brands that, slightly bigger brands that maybe are wanting to run a podcast for their brand, but they don't want to be the face or the voice behind it. I will do that for you. And I think that's everything in terms of just guest speaking and brand collabs and things like that. Again, just drop me a DM on LinkedIn.
I will add all the links to the show notes. And then very last question, is there any final piece of wisdom, advice, or something that I should have asked you or did not? Feel free to share.
I mean, I think that we have covered pretty much everything, but I think the main message for anybody listening to this is just believe in yourself, because if you don't put yourself out there, well, I think it's fall in love with the real possibility of it not working out for you, but then also the possibility that it might. Because the thing is, how great would it be if you started showing up in your personal brand on LinkedIn today and documenting it and people were following you and it did work out? How amazing would that be? Just remember that it might not work out, but there's a real possibility that it will. And so you may as well try.
Yeah, it might work out, but it also might. You never know. You need to try to find out. That's perfect then, Jess. I want to say a big thank you. Although we haven't been connected for such a long time, I really enjoy your content. I like the vibe both on LinkedIn and now on podcast. So thank you so much for joining me. Many valuable takeaways for me, so it will leave me thinking, and I will keep following, supporting, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Produced by with Tomen. Check the show notes for all the links, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your feedback. Speak soon.